Hey everyone, I'm Hunter, and the topic that I decided on for my presentation is Asian carp in the Great Lakes. And to talk more about this, we first have to understand more about what Asian carp are. Obviously, they originate from Asia if you read the name, but you're probably wondering where in Asia. These carp actually originate from the river systems in China and Russia, such as the Pearl, Min, Amur, and Yellow rivers. There are actually four different subspecies of these carp, being the bighead carp, the grass carp, the black carp, and the silver carp. And there's obviously a lot of differences between these subspecies and their size and their shape, but I really want to focus on the differences in their diet. And to talk about this, we have to understand more about what each of these subspecies eat. Bighead carp feed primarily on plankton, being filled into feeders, eating up to 40% of their body weight each day, which can be about 36 pounds of food. Grass carp, as the name suggests, are herbivores, feeding primarily on weeds and algae, and they can eat anywhere from 20% to 100% of their body weight each day, which is up to 90 pounds. Black carp are actually predators, feeding primarily on mussels and snails, but also feeding on other things such as shrimp, crayfish, and insects. And they eat about 20% of their body weight each day, which doesn't sound like much until you learn they weigh up to 150 pounds. Silver carp are the smallest and, like the bighead, feed primarily on plankton. They eat up to 40% of their body weight, which is up to 24 pounds of food each day. And you're probably thinking, how do these freshwater fish actually get to America? And Asian carp are actually imported here for a few reasons. The first reason was actually for biological control and cleaning in aquaculture facilities in the South, which are places where fish are bred, raised, and harvested for commercial, recreational, and public purposes, which actually leads to the next reason they were imported here. They were also imported to be used as an inexpensive and fast growing addition to fish markets, which would happen in these aquaculture facilities where they were already cleaning, meaning that they already had their entire life cycles planned out. So, how did they even make it to the Great Lakes? Right? And the first thing we have to figure out is how they escape these aquacultures, which is pretty simple. They escape through flooding. Flooding events cause these aquacultures to overflow and allow these carp to escape into these waterways down in the south, which then let them get to the Mississippi River Basin, which you can see here in this diagram that I got from the EPA website. And this allowed them to start to work their way up through the Mississippi River Basin, branching off into these other ones and taking up so much of this space. And in some areas, they make up 95% of the biomass in the river, just overwhelming these other populations until they come to here and come to the Illinois River system. And then from there, they branched off the smaller rivers connecting to the Illinois River system, which eventually leads them to the Great Lakes. And if we allow these fish to thrive in the Great Lakes, the effects will be detrimental. Even call back to when I spoke in their diet, these fish eat a ton. This means that as their population grows, less food will be left for other fish in the Great Lakes, such as perch and bass, and this would mean less of those smaller fish for predators such as walleye and trout. This would not hurt not only recreational but commercial fishing industry in the Great Lakes, and as a result, that could negatively affect Michigan's economy. And the negatives don't even stop there. The massive amounts of algae and weed consumed by grass carp would also drastically lower water quality in not only the Great Lakes, but the surrounding waterways in Michigan as well. And this would just hurt Michigan as a whole. And if you heard all this and still somehow think, why should I care? I'm going to tell you why I personally do. I enjoy recreational fishing, and as you can see these pictures here, I really enjoy doing it with my grandpa. It's something that we can do together and bond over. I've done it since I was a kid. And I would just hate to see that opportunity taken away from other children and future generations because of carp, something super preventable. Right? If we allow these carp to take over waterways, maybe these pictures just never happen. And I don't really want that for other people. And obviously, there's groups out there working to prevent this. The main group is the Great Lakes Fishery Commission, and they're working with other groups such as the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, U.S. Geological Survey, Fisheries and Oceans Canada, and the Invasive Carp Regional Coordinating Committee. And as you can see in these photos that I got from each of their websites, one of the ways they get these fish out of the rivers is just by fishing, right? They catch them and they take them and they just remove them. And you see in this photo, you got a bighead carp, but there's other ways they do it. They set up barriers to stop these fish from spreading in the first place, and they really just try to segregate where these fish are and prevent them to expanding into other waterways, and then take them out of the ones where they already are overwhelming it. I know I really crammed a lot about these Asian carp in here, so let me just leave you two big things. First, we need to pay attention what happens in the environment around us, right? Because you wouldn't know this is happening unless you really went out of your way to look in the water and look this stuff up. And that's just something we really have to not allow to happen. And the second is that non-predatory invasive species are just as destructive as predatory ones. You personally, I wouldn't assume carp to be as destructive before doing any of this research, right? But compared to sea lamprey, they can destroy the fish population just as much, if not more, by indirectly killing them and removing their food than directly killing them. And that's kind of surprising. And yeah, thank you for watching.